quickly move this out of the way. So we'll start with the Kenai section. We'll quickly flip through it, but essentially I just wanted to let everyone know, this is a product that's being made, and over the course of the next few months, I hope to meet with everyone so that we could formally go through a draft process where we can fix any errors within the workbook and or just add anything that comes to mind. So as it stands right now, just a quick little, title page for the region. So we're going to look at the Kenai region. So we begin with a quick segment overview. Each of these colors just represents a segment within that region of the Long Trail. And basically the way I split it up is just something that makes more geographical sense or more logical sense from how to get from one route to another, especially when it comes to splitting up the braids. Anything that is a solid line is existing trail on the ground, where dotted is kind of conceptual routes, either connections that are wished to be made but aren't in any formal plan, or they are also just concepts or other projects that had been talked about at all. So it just kind of conglomerates that all into one in the overview. Moving on, it moves on to projects within the area and along the trail. A lot of these are just the bridge connections that are along the INHT path. And it has an investment status where we can see projects that are kind of like more concepts and kind of like far reach projects. And in orange, we have near-term trail funding priorities, stuff that, we're looking for funding soon, hopefully from people who we can share this document with and would be interested in funding said projects if funds need to be acquired. And then after that, it just goes into each little segment in more detail. Here, it would be providing more of a description of the area and why that area is so unique and what opportunities lie within each of those regions. So here we're going to look from Seward all the way up to just south of Kenai Lake. It breaks it up into segments, and then we have a quick reference of each trail onto the right side when it comes to trail uses and any comments or descriptions that come along with the trail, like if it needs more work, if it needs rerouting, so on and so forth. So again, I'm hoping to meet with everyone in the coming months to refine this and just get more updated information as the process goes on. In the map here, you can see that the trail is just highlighted in different colors and different shapes. It's just basically a quick reference on trail usage and trail seasonality, where green is an all-season trail, and blue is a winter route only, and it's not going to appear on the Kenai section, but just in orange would be a summer route. Also, just comments pointing out descriptions of these trails, just quick notes, like this is a proposed trail by the USFS to connect the INHT. Just like a quick flip through of this, just showing all the connections. And then you could see how we could finally connect up into the Anchorage area. And then that's when, of course, you'd go to the next chapter, and then you'd see everything that goes up on there. So as it stands right now, the workbook is mostly complete in the Kenai and Anchorage region, just because that's where most of the information has been thus far. Let me switch to another one, because I know we have some people here from the Mat-Su. So let me quickly share just one thing on that one. It hasn't been formatted into a book yet, but this is just an investment map of the Mat-Su region, where it has an instead of the Palmer-Wasilla area. And it's just showing potential connections. And I like the way that Miriam described it, is that, this is just one big chalkboard to get everyone's idea down. And, if something isn't good, it's just easily replaceable. We could just erase it. So that's all for me. I hope that was a quick, brief description of the Long Trail Workbook. If you guys have any questions, please let me know.
Yeah. Any comments? So we can, yeah, everybody's welcome to utilize the chat as well, of course, for questions or comments. Any immediate questions? Thanks, Xavier.
Hi, it's Diane again. I just wanted to check in on the work that we're doing for the Anchorage to Mat-Su. It's pretty slow going, but we did get that grant, and we are working with Holly at Huddle to draft an RFP for the Anchorage to Mat-Su. But it would be nice. I guess I have not seen what Xavier, I haven't looked closely at it, so thank you for that. But maybe that should be something that we share with Holly. And I know that Will Tagan with the Chugach Mountain Bike Riders, he has like all sorts of ideas. He got some money too of routes that are there. And I just wonder, Xavier, maybe we could get together with him or whatever to like look over all those maps and more close detail if you have them.
Yeah,
just
Diana, to speak to your point, sorry if I cut you off, but yeah, so I actually been in contact with Will Tagan pretty recently, and he shared with me his ideas of the Fire Creek Trail and the northern extension of the Long Trail. So that's made it on the projects for the Anchorage area, but I would love to know more detail about it, or if we could change anything on how to represent it in the workbook itself.
Thank you. Perfect.
Great. Right, so I did not ask anyone to prepare this ahead of time, but I was going to ask if anybody has updates on specific Long Trail projects that they wanted to share with everyone right now, since we're doing the updates. While you're thinking about that, I will share one more little update that we have been approached by the Anchorage Design Week. We've been approached by the Anchorage Museum about their Anchorage Design Week, and they are cooperating with design students, architectural design students from University of Texas, Arlington, who are doing a remote program, but they're interested in contributing to the Long Trail project with their student brain power. And so that's exciting. And the symposium, the Anchorage Design Week, is going to happen in the end of February, and the students from Texas will have 5 weeks prior to that to work on something related to the Long Trail. And so we're still in conversation with them about what that's going to be, but we're excited about that. So that's kind of the brief updates on the Alaska Trail side. And if anybody wants to share their updates in the Long Trail world in their region, please use this time now for a brief update. I'm not going to call on names.
Hey folks, this is Jesse with the Forest Service, and I'm happy to give a quick update here.
Jesse, your audio
Actually,
is
it's a little
breaking.
lengthy, so bear with
Jesse,
me. $1 and we are hatching a plan to get. I'm breaking up.
A little bit, yeah. Maybe the camera.
Let me try turning off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that any better?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so we have, we just got our big earmark here just this past fiscal year, and we've kind of hatched a plan to put it to work. So I'm going to kind of go through fiscal years real quick and kind of tell you what we're thinking of working on. So the first project we're going to be initiating is a new bridge over Victor Creek, and that's kind of down here at mile 20 of the Seward Highway. We may include some trail construction from Victor Creek north, not quite all the way to Ptarmigan, but about 2.5 miles or so. So that's going to happen in 23. We're also going to work on installing, we're going to get a contract package out for the bridges in Turnagain Pass. That'll be Lion and Taylor Creek. Those kind of take off just south of Center Ridge up in Turnagain Pass there on that non-motorized side. So we're going to do the trail and bridges all the way to Bertha Creek. So Lion and Taylor, bridges, and then the trail up to Bertha Creek, because that's going to be the next series of bridges in Turnagain Pass that we're going to be working on. So those will happen in 24, hopefully, and that'll be Bertha and Spokane Creek, and some more trail construction there. And then in 24, we're also going to finish that section from Victor Creek to Ptarmigan, kind of starting at a no-name bridge north of what we call Rocky Creek, and that'll go all the way to Ptarmigan Creek and a bridge over Ptarmigan. And then also we're going to be working on a bridge over Grant Creek. That's on the north end of Vaught Lake there, and then the trail beyond that, and that'll take us all the way into Moose Pass. So essentially, I was kind of jumping all over there. Essentially, when this is complete, we'll have a section of trail that goes from Seward to essentially Eddies or Upper Ingram. We'll have a little gap there. We're getting into Moose Pass proper, but for the most part, we'll have a continuous trail from Seward all the way up into Turnagain Pass. So I'm happy to go into more details with you on that. I know, it's jumping all around there, but it's those sections down in the Moose Pass area, and then the sections in the Turnagain Pass area that we're really working on. We're also doing some design work for 20 Mile. It's going to be, we did some LiDAR work, and now we have our enterprise team coming up with some alternatives for us. That'll be down the road, but we're getting that design work started now. So that's pretty exciting. In addition, we have some money through the Great American Outdoor Act for the next 3 fiscal years that we're going to focus on kind of reconstruction, getting our existing trails up to a higher standard. Work there is going to include kind of some reconstruction work on the Primrose Trail, Portage Lake and Portage Pass. That kind of trail is going to get a facelift, along with Johnson Pass Trail. There's going to be a new bridge there, some bridge repair, a few minor reroutes, reestablishing tread and drainage. We have some other stuff identified too, but those are the major ones. So big news. And another thing, it's kind of premature, but we're talking about putting forward a TAP proposal to extend the bike path out of Moose Pass, Alaska. It goes kind of halfway from the town proper to the South Johnson Trailhead, and we want to complete that trail. So, and we're also looking to potentially put a bridge parallel to the Alaska Railroad. This is very preliminary, so this isn't like, go tell everyone there's a bridge going into Moose Pass. But I know in our grand vision, that's what we see happening. So in that case, we'd have a continuous path all the way, like I said, from Seward all the way up to Turnagain. So tons of work. We're working with our partners at Enterprise. We're working internally. So pretty exciting. Again, if anyone wants further details, please reach out. I know that was a lot. It's taken me years to wrap my head around what is constructed, what isn't, what's still needed. But the big takeaway is we're going to have a continuous trail, which is exciting. So thanks.
Wow, Jesse, that is a lot, and it's very, very, very exciting. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else from the regions would like to do an update?
I'll jump in there. Jesse, that's pretty awesome update. Our long trail plans are not quite as fleshed out yet, but we're starting discussions on it. I think that within the next calendar year, we're going to begin work on Peters Creek, kind of the upper 4 Mile Valley Trail. That includes some brushing and a new pedestrian bridge over 4 Mile Creek. And that's going to tie in really nicely with an RTP grant that we have open right now to continue brushing all the way through the Peters Creek Valley. So that's in the works. We'll probably kick that off this winter. And then we'll probably put a little effort into the Arctic Indian phase 1 trail improvements this winter as well, which we're excited about. I've got some new staff on board this winter, and they're not as familiar with that particular project, so I'll plan on helping them a little bit with that. And that kind of dovetails in nicely to a broader concept of a year-round route through that valley, which is which is exciting as well. As far as the biggies, Turnagain Arm Trail and Crow Pass, we've been working on some discussions to put together some potential contract plans and what that's going to look like for those projects, but it's pretty exciting. You know, both of those trails are well loved, some of our most popular trails in the park, and it's about time to put some serious money towards them. So from state park side of things here in the Anchorage area, that's about it for now.
Thank you, Ben. That is great too. I have a question about, I didn't think you mentioned Crow Pass, but maybe you did. Sorry, I missed it. Yeah. Don't mind me being multitasking here. Anyone else? All right.
I'd like to give a brief update on some of the things that we're working on in Anchorage. One, I just want to do a shout out for Ben Corwin. We applied for an RTP grant last year, and we made a video called Mountains to the Sea. And it's Chugach State Park, and there's a bunch of people that we've all been working with that are in it. And it's just talking about how amazing Chugach State Park is, but how you can bike from Chugach State Park through all of the trails, the Moose Loop into downtown at the small boat launch. And it's very cool. And Steve is going to premiere it at the Land Manager Forum. And then we're going to have it again that day at our Alaska Trails event that is at the museum. And so if you want to see it on a bigger screen, it's cool. And then also we've made a little bit of progress on the 2 projects that were funded by the legislature and the governor. We had a meeting with Alaska Trails and Anchorage Parks and Recreation to talk about the wayfinding piece on the Moose Loop, which is also the Alaska Long Trail. It is still difficult to get some of this additional wayfinding onto our Anchorage Parks and Recreation approved. I guess we call it wayfinding, but it's just the posts where all the signage is. So it's a constant work in progress. We've not been successful in getting the Moose Loop on it, or Alaska Long Trail, which is the next phase of it, to be able to be on the trail system and know that you're also on these other trails. So we had that first initial meeting with Anchorage Parks and Recreation to talk about that. And then there will be many more. But as people in this group are thinking about the Anchorage portion of the Alaska Long Trail and the trail system, if you think about places that you think are tricky and that you don't really know where you're going, or you feel like you may have gotten off the trail, just keep those in mind and shoot me a note and just let me know if this is a tricky part or whatever. We did have a meeting talking about all the tricky parts on the looped system, but there's more, just from Anchorage to Girdwood and Anchorage to the Mat-Su, and just now is the phase where we're pooling all that information. And then again, just as I mentioned, we have a contract with Huddle to prepare an RFP for pulling all the stakeholders together and doing the engineering analysis of the best route from Anchorage to the Mat-Su for that portion of it. And then I also just want to mention that I did get in a notice of intent to apply for a transportation alternatives grant. The deadline was the October 31st for the work connecting Anchorage to Girdwood. So kind of the area that we're talking about is the Windy Corner piece near Indian. We remains to be seen. I think it may be too early because the Department of Transportation has not decided everything that they want to do in that area, but I didn't want to miss a deadline for adding value to any sort of transportation project in that area to add more money for bike and ped features. So applied for something, don't even know what, but some sort of non-motorized connection. And that according to Julius, who is the statewide DOT manager of non-motorized, he said, just get your application in and then it gets the conversation started with all of the Department of Transportation people to talk about needs. So got the foot in the door on that.
Thank you, Diana.
Hey, this is Bryant in Fairbanks. Diana, I'm glad you got a notice of intent to those transportation programs. We just put in a couple. One of them is explicitly Long Trail related up in Fairbanks. So it seems like the more exposure we give DOT to these projects, I think they'll slowly warm up to being partners with these recreation projects as they tie into the transportation infrastructure. So yeah, I got one of those in for the tie into Fairbanks or a portion of it, rather, connecting one of our state forests over to Esther, a small community outside of Fairbanks, going through our borough's Iceberg Rec area. So hopefully we'll see some action there. If not, at least it just kind of keeps the conversation going with DOT. We are working on a project right now, RTP funded project through that Iceberg Recreation area, again, west of town, kind of going to be one of the tie-ins for the Long Trail. So we've got dozers and excavators and dump trucks out there moving material and putting trail down. So that's nice to see this time of year. And then our borough's trail plan, borough-wide trail plan, is going to be seen by our local assembly next week for final adoption. That includes the Long Trail concept as it travels through the borough in its different braids or kind of conceptual stages. So that'll be kind of the borough's formal interest in this trail documented, and a good bit of planning that's gone into that so far will be documented in that plan. So if you have friends up in Fairbanks, have them contact the assembly and participate in that public hearing, because we'll need some help to get that passed. So anyway, that's what's going on up here.
Martin, I can offer a quick update from Denali Borough as well.
Thanks, Teresa. And
Yeah, so as Mario mentioned, for the CDS request in Murkowski's office, there is it's earmarked for separate bike trails in Denali Borough. We also did put in through the DOT program, the TAP program, additional ideas and segments of a separated bike path, trying to start connecting some communities in the Denali Borough with different trailheads as well into the national park and the new Antler Ridge trailhead. So we'll see where that goes as well.
thank you, Teresa. And thank you, Bryant. Okay, well, this is exciting. Things are moving forward. And let's see. So now we are moving to the next section of our meeting, where we talk about next steps. There's quite a few of those that let's see, it's bigger. Okay. So the first item here on my agenda on the next steps is proposed next step.
Mariam,
Yeah.
real quick, Tyler has his hand up. I don't know if he had anything
Oh.
he needed to touch on
Yeah.
before we move on.
I'm sorry, Mary. I'm like, oh, I'm the king of one more. Wait, one more. Just a question really before we move on, since we were talking about earmarks and congressionally designated spending. So with that, those two amounts, the 2.3 and 2.1, is that still tied to fiscal year 23 obligation deadlines? So I know that was kind of tied to it when our submissions kind of went through when we were kind of working through the Murkowski staffers and, hey, yeah, if we get it,
Right.
it must be spent this year. Is that still the case? Because that could drastically affect how our racking and stacking of certain projects works, you know?
I think they have to be obligated by in 24.
Okay,
So once the money gets decided on, and that would be in spring of 23. So once they approve or disapprove, last I heard would be March, but you know, it's all kind of very fluid in Congress. So once they approve or disapprove, then the funds need to be obligated in fiscal year 23. That's right. So by the end of October.
October this coming,
No,
yeah.
Well, 23.
Well,
October
We are
23.
in fiscal year 23, federally speaking
Right.
wise.
Yes, that's right. So next year.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, no, this year, if you're talking end of
Okay,
23.
that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Right,
Yes.
we're
yes.
ahead. It's weird, right? I know state
That's
has
right.
different, fiscal and stuff like
Fiscal,
that.
end of fiscal year 23, so October 23 or
Okay.
September, I think.
September 23, yep,
Mhm.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Sure, yeah. Okay. And so we wanted to talk about the coalition that to make it more formalized, maybe to get on the same page where it was expectations, levels of involvement, be more clear about the coalition's role. And I think we're kind of all on the same page, but it would be nice to have some sort of formalized or maybe written document that shows what the roles and responsibilities are. So we drafted this document called Coalition Participation Agreement that I sent out this morning. So I'm not sure if you had the chance to look at it. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. So essentially it lists the purpose and specific tasks. So I don't think we have time really to go through this today in great detail. And I just want to point out the key things here. So we see the coalition's purpose to provide strategic direction. It's twofold. One is to provide strategic direction for the route as a whole, and two is to guide the regional planning process in specific regions. And that seems like what we have been doing as a group up to now. So if this seems accurate or not accurate, please write in the comments in this document, maybe share your thoughts. We would like to have your input on this document by the end of day Friday, if possible. And the second point I want to bring up about this participation agreement is participation. So who is participating in the coalition? It's a voluntary participation. Again, it's a reflection of what has been working for us as a group up until now. And the coalition comprises key representatives from each of the 5 regions, and Alaska Trails is the coordinating body for the entire trail and facilitator of meetings. So if you have immediate thoughts on what you see here, please share now, or again, you're welcome to share your feedback.
Mariam,
Yeah.
what is it that you're looking for input on by Friday? Is it the guiding document or the
Sorry,
one you're
this
sharing on your
one.
screen?
The one I'm sharing on my screen, yeah, the participation agreement. I can,
Mariam, I don't think we're seeing what you're seeing.
really? Oops, I'm sorry.
Well, maybe we are. I still see the,
I'm looking at the agenda
Agenda.
too, Haley. Yeah.
okay.
Oh, sorry. thought I was so clever doing all the scrolls and highlights. Sorry. Do you see it now?
Yes.
My apologies.
And did you
So-
email this or is it in the drive?
It's in the agenda in the it's in the agenda and it's in the drive as well. There are all kinds of places. But if you have access to the agenda, it's linked to it's linked to the verbiage. It says participation agreement. I can also put the link in the chat.
You know, if you could do that, that'd be great. I'm looking
Yeah.
at the agenda you sent on
That was
Tuesday.
today. Yeah, it would have been today.
Okay.
It was an update. Yeah. Just a second. Find it.
Sorry, Mariam, I think things are getting a smidge muddled maybe. So there were lots of documents that were linked. Right
Yeah.
now, you've crafted a participation agreement, which is basically just what we are hoping coalition members will do as we move forward, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you are asking the coalition to take a look at this and make sure everyone's comfortable with it and let you know by the end of the week, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Thanks, Haley, for clarifying what I'm trying to ask here. Yes. So we'll stop sharing and go next to the next steps, which is a different document that was linked in the email and in the agenda. All right, so where is it? Here we go. So in this document, which is a guiding document for the lawn trail that Haley and Alaska Trail started drafting this year to provide basically a map for where we're going with the lawn trail concept. And you don't have to go through the whole document. We wanted to just focus on the first section, which says Alaska Lawn Trail Roadmap 1-year goals. So by December 31st, 2023, Alaska Trails hopes to accomplish. So these are the steps that we see as necessary next steps in the coming year. The first on the list is a name decided by the end of 2022 with your approval, and we'll come back to it today. And then we have the workbook draft that Xavier shared today for 2 regions, Anchorage and Kenai. And so he's working on the workbook draft for the rest of the regions. And the workbook is a working document. So as things shift and move and change, it will be updated as we go. And then the third item is branding strategy. This has been on our list this year, and this winter we're working now, and Kaylee will talk more about this, on developing the strategy for the lawn trail. And then again, continue working with the working groups and regional working groups and stakeholders in each region to figure out the missing segments, to build more rapport with communities and bring in skeptical communities and representatives into the lawn trail fold, hopefully. And then the next section here is incorporating all that feedback and comments from stakeholders and working groups into the next draft of the workbook. And then, of course, advocating for more funding for projects, as we're planning to do again with the state budget and with hopefully Senator Murkowski's support. And the last item here is new. We haven't had any promotional marketing events yet. Well, sort of we did, but not not as a big trail race on segments yet. So that would be something that we would like to consider for next summer. Maybe select a segment that is close to being done or has been recently finished, and host a celebration of fundraising or trail race, essentially, to raise the profile, maybe even fundraise. So that's the idea for next year. So this is to update you on where we are as Alaska Trails, as a kind of bearer of the concept. Yeah. So if you, again, you're welcome to also make comments in this document as well, if you would like to provide your feedback or email me. So, but that's where we are right now. Any comments or questions on the next steps right now?
Mariam, this is Jeff. In my other role related to the Long Trail, I'm the board president for the Kenai Mountains Turnagain Arm National Heritage Area, and we have had more interest in hosting events over the past couple of years. We started off with a race up at Hope, the gravel grinder in Portage, on Portage Valley, Palmer Creek Road. And then we had another race added to that, it's Spencer Glacier 5K dash out there too. So I wonder if there's an opportunity to partner, maybe Alaska Trails and KMTA could get together on a race somewhere between Seward and Girdwood that might be a good fit to add to our agenda for 2023. And I'm a volunteer, I'm not the staff, but I'd be happy to connect with Rachel Blakesley, our executive director, and see if we could consider that for add to the calendar for next year.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, that's a great idea. And we have a good relationship with Rachel as well. So we could reach out to her for sure. Right.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea to celebrate some of those new Forest Service bridges.
Mm-hmm. Anything else on the next steps right now? All right. So that's a segue to what our plans are for this coming winter. So more regional outreach needs to happen in some of the regions for sure, and particularly in the Mat-Su. That's where we have seen quite a few pushback against the Long Trail from various communities, and not much support from legislators. So we have been talking with Wes Hoskins last year, and we are happy that the Mat-Su Trails and Parks Foundation have accepted our grant to fund a separate position for the Mat-Su coordinator for the Long Trail. And that's very exciting. We're in the process of hiring that person. Well, we're accepting applications. So if you have ideas, or if you would like to spread the word about this, the job description is on our website under jobs. And yeah, we just started spreading the word last week. So hopefully we can find the person in the next months. This coordinator will be working in the Mat-Su with us and with assistance from Wes and Taylor and Catherine to do more community outreach, to facilitate small focus groups, and just essentially build public relations. So that's very exciting, and very happy that we were successful with the grant. And let's see, other regions probably would benefit from more community outreach and more stakeholder outreach as well. And I put here a few areas where we probably need more gatherings. So that's, we'll be reaching out to Teresa, to Bryant, to see if we can make something happen. And so next step is also on the list here for this winter is branding and public relations. And I'll pass this, pass the mic to Heather, sorry, to Haley. My brain is shutting down. It's kind of, yeah, still, yeah.
You want to just take it away, Mariam?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, great. So we have been talking to a couple of different PR and branding firms about what the branding iconography name for the Long Trail could be moving forward. And we're still fielding some proposals. If anyone has any additional recommendations for folks who are hip savvy and offer nonprofit discounts, we would be happy to field some other proposals for PR and branding. But step one of that, or one of the very early steps of that, is that for over a year now, we've been saying that the Alaska Long Trail is a placeholder name. And we either need to quit saying that or we need to pick the other name, because it's certainly becoming kind of part of the popular lexicon. We've published op-eds, people refer to it by the Alaska Long Trail name. And so we just either need to bring that horse home or get off of it. And so we were hoping to get your feedback. I know Mariam reached out earlier about if anyone had some suggestions, and maybe Mariam, we can pop over to that spreadsheet. Yeah, perfect. And Mariam, were you going to do a poll in the chat today?
I actually set up a poll.
Yes, I knew it.
Yeah, I did.
So I guess, there are several options. There is the do nothing alternative, which is we've been referring to this thing as the Alaska Long Trail for a couple of years now, and maybe we should just stick with it. There is the choose one of these names, or there is the develop a whole new name idea. A little bit of background, if you're not a Long Trail person, or just aren't familiar with this part of the world, there is already a long trail, and it's in Vermont. And it's a beloved old footpath that, it crosses through like Mad River Glen and kind of like really beautiful hiking terrain over there in Vermont. And they are interested in the fact that we have maybe sort of picked the Alaska Long Trail as our name because they are already the Long Trail. So we certainly don't want to create any animosity. They also certainly don't own the word long. So there's that piece going on. There is, and there's all sorts of other factors that we've been considering, right? One is we would love to have an Indigenous place name, but we also don't want to pick a place name that is appropriate for part of the 500-mile trail and not the entire 500-mile trail. So that has come up a lot in early discussions. And one thing that we have been kicking around in relation to that is that perhaps the Alaska Long Trail has a name like the Alaska Long Trail, and then sections that are through different people's traditional and current homelands are indicated as such with local Indigenous place names. So that would be one solution to that potential, not problem, but opportunity to incorporate other groups and cultures into this naming process. So that is one thing. So there's the Long Trail, there's the Indigenous place names, there's the, are we too far down the Alaska Long Trail road to change it now? There's a lot of stuff we've been kicking around. So maybe we can open up the table of conversation first to see if anyone has a really strong opinion that they would like to kind of articulate long form. And then if no one does, then maybe, or after folks have had the opportunity to do so, then maybe Mariam can open the poll. So I'm going to be quiet and see if anyone has thoughts on the name.
The one comment I added in, this is Teresa from Denali Borough, is that, the conversation comes back to it being multi-use, braided. And so I put in a line there to use the word route. If that offers that diversity that the trail is intended to represent. Just one thought along those lines.
Mhm.
Thanks, Teresa. Anybody else?
This is Jeff, and yeah, this is kind of a fun puzzle to ponder. There are, I think, a lot of really great names on this list here. I think the ones that are strongest are the ones that reference Alaska and what it is. I think there are some more whimsical names in here that I don't know if they're great names, but I just don't think they would help identify with Alaska very well. But the Alaska Traverse, the Great Alaska Trail, I could see something like the Great Alaska Traverse, and then you've got the GAT still, and you could talk about the GAT Walk. And I think there's a lot of very similar, strong, and yet simple messages here that are all kind of bunched together. So yeah, great thinking here. I have nothing to add to the list, but just think that we're on the right track.
Jeff, maybe a quick question.
Sure.
Am I hearing in what you just said, the notion that the word Alaska, it would be important to include that in the name?
From my opinion, yeah, I think that would be important to include in the name. That defines it. You know, the Appalachian Trail is a region, the Pacific Crest Trail is a region, but Alaska Trail will be exclusively in Alaska, and I think it's important that it include that identifier in there. That's my 2 cents. I'm not a marketing professional, but that's what my takeaway is.
I guess I was, just as I was scanning these trails, wondering, this isn't the time to share personal views, but it frames the thought, which is like the North Star Trail is kind of a cool name, but maybe it would have to be the Alaska North Star Trail or something like that, which might get to the polling and how we'd use the results.
Jeff,
Yeah.
I really like Great Alaska Traverse. That kind of incorporates Teresa's thought about route versus trail, right? And the multi-braided, multimodal approach. And then also
Certainly, yep.
ties in the GAT Walk, which is so good. We haven't even thought of that pun yet. And then yeah, I agree. Alaska as just like the marketing of the trail. If you name the trail and then have to tell people where it is, as the subtitle, that's a little cumbersome. So, any other thoughts from the group before we?
I mean, if we were going to poll on yellow, just to keep the one that I like, I wonder if there'd be the Alaska North Star Trail as a secondary option, along with just the simple North Star Trail.
Thanks for that comment in the chat. Catherine from Matthew Trails and Parks said that the overlap with the Long Trail in Vermont, not ideal. Yeah. Well, great. We'll add your thought in there.
I'll make a plug for, I like the Alaska Long Trail or the Alaska Trail. I agree with Jeff. But to me, either one of those, it makes it clear to folks from lower 48, coming up to Alaska for a trip like this is a real bucket list kind of thing. And that's like a real appeal of this project to me, is convincing people to come up here, spend a buck, check out the state in a different way than they maybe are currently encouraged to come up here. And there's the Arizona Trail, the Colorado Trail, the Florida Trail. There's a lot of these state trails that the Long Trail community through hikers know about. The Alaska Trail kind of brings it to that. But I think the unique Alaska factor for this project is we're just so much bigger. And to me, Long Trail drives home that it's going to be a big long trail that walks across the biggest state. And I think that's something to really grab onto, is that this Alaska factor, and get people psyched to have an excuse to come up here for their Alaska vacation. I mean, we're going to love it too, for sure. But, I think that's one of the real draws for this project is convincing folks to come up and check out the state.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I like having the word Alaska in there. Chris, to speak to your question, and this, I might be unique in that I am from Minnesota, but Minnesota is the North Star state. I know the North Star is used a lot in Alaska, but just for what that's worth,
Yeah.
I read that, I was like, well, that, you know, has a different meaning from,
Helpful.
you know, as far as
Thanks.
Minnesota's concerned. Yeah.
And a lot of travelers to Alaska are from the Midwest, so worth considering like where the people who are coming here are coming from. So
Hey, Brian here, I just want to agree very strongly with what everyone's saying. Definitely keep Alaska in it. We're the biggest and best, and everyone knows it. And so just having the name on there puts us above the others on the bucket list for those through hikers or travelers. So yeah, I'd vote for Alaska Long Trail, or just the Alaska Trail. Great Alaska Trail is cool too. All right, thanks.
I was
I
gonna say,
wanted-
think about the swag that Alaska Trails can sell that says Great Alaska Traverse or Trail or whatever, and people are gonna buy that because it says Alaska. So hoodies, hats, things like that, stickers.
Yeah, I was going to mention kind of similar to what Jeff was saying, thinking about like stickers, promotion items, and just how the trail is referred to. It seems like the acronyms take on a lot of that trail's personality, I guess, or that's like, it's the slang, people get comfortable using the acronym. So for me, the ones that have a good acronym, I think I'm drawn a little bit more towards. I don't think we should pick the trail just to have a good acronym or pick the name. One thing thinking about the acronyms as well was with the Alaska Trail, that would be the AT. So there might be another kind of weird issue with existing names there.
Mhm.
yes, the oldest, much longer, much more famous AT might not I don't think they'd care necessarily if we were also the AT, but it might not allow us to differentiate that. The AKT though, that's a good point, Brian. You could use the whole AK shortening in the acronym, although I think sometimes they take on lives of their own, and I'm not sure if, obviously we use AK all the time. Like I even use it in writing sometimes when it's probably not appropriate. I'm mean to say Alaska and I just drop AK instead. And I'm not sure that people from out of state use that as ubiquitously as we do. But that would be one way to make it not an AT. This is fun. This is like the most engagement we've had on a topic in a while. This is great.
A question. So, and forgive me if this was already discussed prior. I've been a little out of the net here and there. So looking at the Chugach portion, right? Because it's the Iditarod, the Southern Trek, right? Is what basically is being absorbed here. And so when you're incorporating a long trail name on top of a historic trail, you know, we get congressionally designated funding and things like that. Like, okay, where does that fall? Because signage and things like that are extremely important and regulated to a lot of respect as to how we market and track the trail here, from Stewart up to Girdwood through our borders at least, you know. And BLM certainly has a heavy hand since they are the trail administrator for the state. You know, so I don't know how that plays an effect, or if that could be a future conversation. Again, if it's been talked about, I'm sorry for rehashing, but I just want to make sure that's kind of out there. Because I know beyond the Forest Service boundaries, I mean, if you're talking Crow Creek or Crow Pass and through Kinnick and things like that, also part up through the Mat-Su, also part of some of those segments. And so I just want to make sure that's captured in some respect.
So what
Yeah.
would be, Tyler, what would be your recommendation for picking a name that would?
I mean, the name, I love everything that's
No,
been
no.
talked
Well,
about.
for in the context of putting more logos and markers on existing signage, essentially. Would we think about long, maybe shorten the name, or I don't know.
You know, I love everything, again, everything we talked about. Great Alaska Trail, Great Alaska Traverse, those are all fantastic. And the messaging behind it, again, everything, you know, that Will and everyone else has said is spot on. That's why we're doing this, right? We're trying to generate these connecting places and bring some business to them is a lot of the theme here, for sure. I just want to make sure that historical established piece, you know, when we come to market this, doesn't hit a hiccup like, man, we can't even put a Great Alaska Traverse sign down in Johnson Pass, right? Because we're overlapping. I just want to make sure if that's been talked about, if that's something we need to ferret out still. You know what I mean?
That's a good thing to bring up, Tyler. I mean, that's probably worth talking to BLM specifically about, right?
Yep.
That exact pointed question. But I guess my thought is, so the Continental Divide Trail, the Colorado Trail is, there's 2 routes for the Colorado Trail, but one of them, they share like 280 miles of their trailiness, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And they are both viewed as distinct and, you know, concurrent trails, right? Like everyone understands that they are a thing in and of themselves. And if
Right.
you're through hiking the CDT, you obviously do those 280 miles of the Colorado Trail if you're doing that route. Anyway, so I imagine, barring the legal question, but maybe more talking about like the marketing question, that there would be things that say like, you know, the Great Alaska Crossing or the Great Alaska Traverse or the Alaska, whatever we, you know, wherever it lands, begins with the southern trek of the Iditarod National Historic Trail, right?
Sure.
And then,
Sure.
And segues into blah, blah, blah. And so like, you know, if it includes the Kasugi Ridge Trail, I think everyone will also know they are on the Kasugi Ridge Trail system,
Right.
even though they are on the Alaska Trail or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, that's good. And we should have, Maria, maybe that goes on our list, is that pointed question for the BLM.
Yeah. And Jesse, he'd be a great person to help coordinate that with Kevin Keeler. He's the trail administrator.
Yeah.
BLM. Yeah. So we could help kind of bridge that. So I want it to be successful. I don't want to get hung up last minute, like, oh my God, we can't do it because it's not, you know, whatever. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, you're killing me. We spent however many years and here we are. So if we
And
can-
just having goodwill so that people feel like it's a net positive for everybody, right? Like
totally.
I would hate for the, you know, the Iditarod Trail, it's failing me now, the nonprofit that's associated with the trail, to feel like we were taking away something as opposed to adding to the success of that trail and the stewardship of that, right?
Exactly, because this is only going to get more users, more showcasing, more positivity. And so I want to make sure we capture that lightning and yeah. keep it
Yeah.
going.
Thanks, Tyler.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, just in the interest of time, any other comments before Mariam throws up her awesome poll?
Nobody, well, shall we add Walkie McLean Walk?
Let's leave Walkie McLean Walk off.
So
Much as I love it.
to a disclaimer, most of these names came from our Facebook outreach to our base through Alaska Trails followers on Facebook. So there were about 30 comments, and we picked the ones that did not have word frontier or something else. And yeah, anyway, or Gold Rush or something like that. So that's where all of this came from. And there was some funny suggestions on the bottom. Shall we highlight the Great Alaska Crossing as an option?
Sure.
My I don't know, my first thought about the crossing is that it's not, you know, it's not a trail, I guess. I want to do the Great Alaska Crossing. No, I guess.
Also, it used to be an organization called Alaska Crossings. They recently dissolved, but a lot of people in the outdoor industry like worked for them or know of them. Less of a thing with tourism, more of a thing with outdoor rec, but. And then I think Mariam, Alaska Trail should also be on the poll.
Alaska Trail. Well.
And maybe we just get like a temperature reading from this poll, and then we go back and poll people and like maybe do an informal email thing that says like, we settled on Great Alaska Trail, but we'd like to, do a secondary poll of, is it Great Alaska Trail or Great Alaska Traverse, because I do like that idea of incorporating the multimodal.
Is that okay if I take out North Star Trail?
I am
Chris?
totally fine with that.
Because you want, you,
That's fine.
right.
Don't want to have all of Minnesota boycotting the trail.
Okay.
And
Although
Mariam,
I
we do
like-
have
I-
this.
I like the logo possibilities, but I'm done. I'm joking.
Mhm. So Jesse says, to me, traverse implies off-trail, rough mountain travel. Mhm. Mhm.
And Mariam, so we've got about 5 minutes more
Yeah.
of people's time. So let's
That's
maybe
fine.
try to do a preliminary poll, and then if we
Okay.
need to do follow-up.
I need to edit a little bit. Hold on just a second.
Maybe in this lull while you're editing, then I will say that yeah, our goal for the that the communications and marketing plan, one, we're applying for a little bit of funding to do that and to figure out how it's gonna specifically concur with the Moose Loop in Anchorage. And so I think that in the future, we could also throw some time and attention at thinking about how the branding and the marketing will concur with other branded trails, such as the Iditarod. So maybe that first round of marketing branding with Moose Loop and Anchorage Park Foundation will help guide us as to how we can work collaboratively with other existing trails.
And if there's another tiny increment of time here, I shared a note that just came in by way of Tim Dillon, Economic Development Director down in the Kenai. But in that note, I used words that I think maybe Beth Nordland of the Alaska or Anchorage Park Foundation introduced, which is on-ramps and off-ramps. The notion that there's the main stem or the main braids, and then there's these important and related on-ramps and off-ramps. At some point, that may be a consideration in some of this branding discussion. But it looks like Mariam's got things queued up.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I should change it to multiple choice instead of single choice, like, ranked voting.
Ranked choice voting.
Mhm.
Let's all do some practice if people haven't voted
Yep.
early yet.
Could it be everybody just votes 2, given that we've got not much time?
It says multiple choice. Well, either multiple choice or single. Let's try multiple. You can add another option if you strongly interested.
So you're
in
going to
one more.
change what we're seeing. We should wait a minute.
Oh, I guess I can't change it, sorry. Because it's already going.
Why don't we all just pick our favorite? And then if we need to do some follow-up, we can do that.
Okay, so everybody participated but me because I can't figure out how to cast my vote myself. Oh, well. Thank you. All ended. Great Alaska Traverse won. Did you see it on my screen? What's happening? No? Or your screen?
You need to share the results, I think.
Oh.
We're not seeing your screen.
There we go.
Yeah, okay.
Great Alaska Trail and Traverse. Wow. Cool. Awesome. Well, in the interest of closing out the small bit of this that I was saying, that seems like an awesome preliminary poll of our group here. And we'll do some like internal chatting and maybe reach out to some folks who weren't able to be at this meeting. and then come back to the group with kind of a close-ish to final name path for us. So Mariam, anything else you want to share with folks before we?
So yeah, well, I just wanted to share some announcements briefly, well, quickly. So on November 15th, we have Land Manager Forum. Information can be found on our website if you haven't registered. So one day of events at BP Center or online. And then on December 7th, Mercedes Colbert, the Chief of Staff of Senator Tom Begich, will do CAPS's Lunch and Learn. This is an event organized by Alaska Outdoor Alliance, Lee Hart. And in this event, I'll be there to talk about the process of submission of proposals to the state legislature, like we did last year for the Long Trail. I hope it will be helpful to a lot of folks. And right now, November 1st, well, no, today's November 2nd. Yesterday, Alaska Trails have been very active in the production of the statewide outdoor recreation plan for the state of Alaska, and now it is up for public comment on the site linked to the words on the screen here. It's called public comment period, and it will be open through November. If you
Why should people be interested in this weird acronym, the SCORP thing, Mariam?
Yeah, good question. Well, Chris, you would like to tell us? I'd like to. I think you will have a much better.
I don't know about that, because we all work so hard on it. No,
Yes.
what this is, it's the first ever time that the state of Alaska has used the required update of the SCORP to actually do a statewide comprehensive outdoor recreation plan. So a lot of you were involved in that, but Cast of Thousands has really thought carefully, big picture about what Alaska could be doing to expand and take greater advantage of our generous outdoor recreation resources. And it includes a new set of tools for tracking use, public surveys, anonymized cell phone data. It sets up a new statewide GIS program to track the locations of outdoor recreation resources on all ownerships. But above all, it just lays forward a pretty ambitious path, 7 goals at the statewide level, and then more detailed recommendations for action in 7 smaller, more intensively used areas: Anchorage, Denali, Mat-Su, Kenai, Prince William Sound, Fairbanks, Southeast. And the value of the thing greatly grows up when people take time to look at this thing and make sure it's saying the right stuff, and then stay involved in the process. So it's kind of the foundation, but not the actual actions. So you folks who've been involved and care about these issues, your perspectives on what's there, maybe what could be improved, would be really valuable. And as Mariam says, there's a link and a month-long window for feedback. So if you get a moment, please do check it out.
And one more thing, so in the participation agreement that I'm hoping that all of you will look at and leave comments by Friday end of day this week. In that agreement, we set up the meetings to be quarterly. So we'll try to keep to that schedule. So every 3 months or so, depending on what's going on in the Long Trail world. Soon to be changed, I guess, name for the trail. But so we're aiming then to, so now it's November. So we're aiming for January or February for another meeting. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time out of your day to meet. And we're almost on schedule. 4 minutes over. Not too bad.
Minor miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot, Mariam. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.